why bother wasting your time hunting for skins when the new Dota Boom event already has everything you need? Each case has a risk level displayed. The higher the risk, the more challenging it is to pay off. But if you do, it's definitely worth it. For example, opening the knockout drop case pays off more often than others, but it's much harder to get the best drop from it. But in the battle for skins case, due to multicast, there's a chance to get 4 skins at once. That's why the risks are higher. In order to make all this as transparent as possible, the site uses a provably fair system. It guarantees fairness in all of the games, making rigging simply impossible. But if you still want to battle for skins not with the site but with a real person, you can always do it in case battles, where you'll compete with other players for the coolest skins and items. So pause the video right away, enter this promo code, and get a 5% deposit bonus. Follow the link right now, activate the promo code, get your bonus, and come back watching the video.
Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be going over 7 hero/item builds that I've seen recently that I've been very impressed by. So, I got all the matches here, let's talk about what's going on in the current meta. Okay, so the first thing is Medusa offlane. Now, I already made a video on Medusa offlane, but I wanted to talk about a variance of the build very quickly that I saw that I like. So I think a big flaw that I have with Medusa offlane that I mentioned in that video is the fact that it doesn't scale the best. It's not that it scales terribly, but when you're buying items like Octarine Core with Gleipnir and just like all of these magic items, you very often lack damage on Medusa. I mean, after all, one of your abilities is just completely useless if you do this, right? Split shot. And so what I saw recently was Radiance. Now, I actually believe that Mjolnir might be better. However, one of these two items is something that I'm a big fan of. Basically, Radiance makes sense on this hero. You like the damage, right? After all, you are a right clicker. You like the evasion, it's definitely useful. And on top of that, you're gonna be in the middle of the fight, right? This is just an item that gets a lot of value when you're in the middle of the fight. And with this version of Medusa, you're constantly pushing towers, moving towards objectives, and just in general, being tanky. And so yeah, I think this build makes sense. It also just makes you farm a lot faster, as I was saying, right? This hero kind of just lacks that a little bit with the normal magic build. It's not that it farms slowly, but you have to drag camps together, snake them. With Radiance, it's much quicker, and you have a much more natural form of scaling. The only reason that I might like Mjolnir better is because eventually you can pick up an Aghanim Scepter and a Scotty, and this is going to be your best way to scale into a right clicker, as you get that split shot modifier with Mjolnir, you get a Scotty effect, you know, it's just really powerful. All right, getting into the next build, this is a mid Phoenix build from XM, and it was with Vessel instead of the very standard Shiva's Rush. So there's two main builds that people do on core Phoenix, but the primary one that people have mostly done over Phoenix core's history is Shiva's Rush, at least sort of over the latest period of time. But now, with Vessel's buff being 10% better on healing reduction, I've become even more of a fan of this item. It was buffed not too long ago to make it where you get a charge when you die, even if you have none, but also they buffed the healing reduction then as well, I believe from 55% healing reduction to 60. Now it's 70. I mean, this item, especially against healing heroes, is beyond broken. I mean, even in games where the enemy team doesn't have just like healing sources, let's say you're against a Tiny or you're against a Kunkka, it doesn't matter. This item is just going to be good. It's current health damage, so the higher HP the unit against heroes like Kunkka and Tiny that are in the meta, it's going to be very powerful. And even against something like Magic Wand, right? If they pop a 20 wand, it's just not doing a lot. It's 30% effectiveness. This just isn't that good. And so Vessel mid Phoenix to me is incredibly powerful. After that, you're gonna, transition to natural Shivas. There's probably a few different items you can go. You could probably even go something like Radiance, but Shiva's just too damn good on Phoenix, right? It reduces the attack speed of people around you so that your egg is more effective. It amps the magic damage of all of your spells. The hero has terrible armor, so it lets you not get bursted, right? This build is incredible. So something like Vessel Shiva's Radiance is just incredible, or Vessel Shiva's. You should buy your shard as well after the Shivas. Into like a refresher is great as well. Next up is Storm Caudle. I kind of just have to keep talking about this combo. And in general, Caudle's going to come up next as well. This hero is just something else. The current state of Caudle, if you haven't seen it, revolves around Recall. Recall is something that Caudle gets when he uses his ultimate, and he can teleport to allies or teleport allies to himself. When he does this, either him or the ally gets chakra'd, and this is really broken because no, you're not using your chakra magic, it just uses chakra magic when you recall them. And so you use chakra magic, and then you can use Chocolate Magic again. This is broken because with heroes like Storm, you're just pumping 300, 600 mana into them in a literal second, right? It's incredibly broken. On top of that, you're reducing cooldowns. And so for heroes like Storm, an ability like a Electric Vortex, which, you know, has a reasonably long cooldown around 20 seconds, you're just gonna get 2 of them off. Even something like Static Remnant, which you would think isn't that necessary to refresh, becomes quite useful to refresh in many cases, right? You're just getting a lot more magic damage out in the early game, and just the ability to move a Storm Spear around the map with max mana constantly is incredibly broken. I mean, think about it, right? The hero's main drawback is that if you want to move around the map, well, you're just going to run out of mana very quickly. Well, if that doesn't happen, it's wraps. On top of that, the first item that most coddles buy is Holy Locket. So you're pumping even more mana and a bit of health into the Storm Spirit. And I didn't even mention that Coddle's Q heals during his ultimate. This was buffed as well. So this was just, I mean, this is just one of the most buffed heroes of the patch. And by the way, I haven't even mentioned the fact that the Shard gives you another recall charge. So Coddle has one of the best shards in the game. This is important because in the current patch, if you take Torm, you might get it. You have a 50% chance, right? So yeah, having one of the best shards in the game, I believe this hero's item build can just be like Locket Shard if you don't get it from Tormentor, and it's just something else. And the next build I wanted to talk about as well is Doom Carry with Coddle. I think this one's really interesting. I'm a big fan of Doom Carry. I think this hero's just a great carry for a lot of reasons. I mean, first of all, it has a farming spell in Scorched Earth. It has a farming spell in Devour. And really the main drawback to Doom's farming is that Scorched Earth's cooldown is 35 seconds and the duration is 16 seconds. So you have a 19-second downtime where you can't exactly farm. With Coddle, it's a 0-second downtime. On top of that, Coddle's recall works with Devour, so that bonus gold you're getting from Devour can just be constantly refreshed. You can literally button mash chakras on Doom, and so he's getting more Scorched Earths and more Devours, removing all of the lack of farming from this hero. And so yeah, this combo is just straight up bonkers. I mean, we are talking some crazy stuff with this build. And yeah, you could of course just pair this with like a Storm mid. So you can imagine there's some ridiculous combos. I mean, you've probably seen, if you followed the pro scene, you've probably seen some of them, but there's some ridiculous combos with Coddle. And I did want to cover Doom and Storm. I think these are the two most interesting. The third most, and maybe the best, is Terrorblade, but I'm not going to go over that today. It's just more illusions, more metas, and more shard usage. But yeah, Doom Carry with Coddle, pretty broken. The items you buy, I mean, you can do a lot of different things, but I think Radiance, in my opinion, is the way to go. All right, next up, OD is on the rise. Just a quick little talk about OD. This hero is a lot of damage. It's a very, very good laner. I think you just buy Hurricane Pikes. You're very, very tanky, hard to kill. Yeah, I think it's just strong against a lot of mid heroes, a lot of the melee mid heroes. Dragonite, Tiny, Ember, even can do very well against Storm, can do very well against Tiny. It beats Monkey King. So yeah, I think OD is just kind of on the rise. This hero has been one of the highest win rates in average pubs for a long time now. I mean, on Dota Buff, it's literally been one of the top mids for forever. You know what's really funny, guys? Pros, they don't, like, I've talked to a lot of pros and a lot of high MMR players, and they'll just disregard win rates at low MMR. Like, if it's like Dota Buff, right? They'll just disregard it. And it's really funny because the heroes at the top of the win rates will get disregarded for forever. And then like one pro will try it and make it look good, and then everyone plays it. And this is just always how it goes, right? Obviously, certain heroes at higher win rate and low MMR are not going to be picked in the pro scene, and there's reasons for it. There are good reasons for it. Usually it's like a lack of laning stage, maybe a lack of wave shove, maybe it just like is high win rate because it's easy, you know. But it's funny, like an example of this was Abaddon. Abaddon was top win rate for forever, and I even hated on the hero. I'm like, nah, it's only good because it's easy. But the reality was, and I missed this completely, the reality was is the hero was just a completely broken laner, and it scaled reasonably well. I mean, this is a great formula for success, right? Just a hero that has one of the most stable lanes in the game. I mean, it loses to almost nothing. I mean, it got nerfed a lot now because it finally came into the scene, but it's just funny. And OD has been the same way for a while, where the numbers on this hero are just good. It just does a lot of damage. It scales very well. It's a very reliable lane. The biggest issue with the hero is that if it falls behind early on, it doesn't feel good, right? If it doesn't have items, it doesn't do a lot of damage. It doesn't push out waves. It doesn't farm that fast if it's poor, right? So it has some flaws for sure, but it just does too much damage. Okay, let's get into Slark support from Paravision. I'm a huge fan of Slark support. I want to cover it again in the future. Slark support is just the vision king. I mean, the fact that your Barracuda, which is your innate that gives you HP regen and movement speed, and also just tells you if you're being seen, just tells you if there's wards around. If it's off, you don't see a hero, well, you know there's a ward. And this is just broken. Now you might be like, okay, well, sure, you can deward everything, but do you contribute to fights? I mean, the answer to that is, honestly, the better you get, the more it contributes. Why? Because people get better and better and better at playing around vision, playing around angles, just playing around information. So yeah, if you're a Herald, I probably wouldn't recommend Slark support. Is it that bad? No. And here's why. You can scale. The reality of Slark support is that it scales very easily. The reason why is because it can actually farm. So the problem for a lot of support heroes is that you cannot farm. Why? If you try, you'll die. Imagine playing Bane and trying to split push a tower. It's not gonna work. You're going to die. You could be like, oh, I'll sleep the guy and get away. Yeah, you might. Maybe you're that good. But in all reality, you're not gonna kill the wave fast enough. You're gonna have to show for 8 seconds you're gonna die. Slark can kill the wave reasonably quickly with his Q. And if he gets gone on, if they try to come kill you, you can pounce away. You can ult away. And in terms of scaling, there's a lot of different things you can do. Number one, you just have your shard, right? So Slark just has a save. Someone's getting dueled, use Slark shard. Someone's getting black hole, put a shard on them. It's one of the best saves in the game. Even though it's been nerfed, I'm not kidding, like 3 or 4 times, something like that. It's still one of the best saves in the game, and you can get it from the Tormentor. Pretty broken, right? And so in terms of items, there's a lot of things people do. Personally, I'm a big fan of something I saw recently, which was drums into Diffusal Blade. I just think that the drums gives you a bit of the stats you need, a bit of mana pool, a bit of movement speed, strength, right? This hero's HP is just a bit too low. You want a magic wand, you want drums, and then you want raindrops. You desperately need these items to just kind of keep your mana pool up, for sure. And then you buy a Diffusal Blade, and yeah, you have a lot of attack speed with drums. Attack speed just works well with Diffusal Blade, right? This item just does a lot of damage as long as you hit fast. And so, yeah, great combo, very powerful. I think this hero's vision game and scaling is actually much better than people think. And on top of that, it just roams very well as well, right? You have pounce, you move around the map quickly, you know if you're being seen when you're roaming. Just a lot of potential with this hero. All right, getting into the final build. This one is from Soxa. It's Jakiro Emax with Twin Terror Shard Buy. So he's been doing this a lot now. He's actually done it multiple times. I only saw it once when I wrote it down on this Google Doc here. But yeah, he's done it multiple times now. And why is it good? Well, first of all, let's talk about Twin Terror, the facet. If you don't know what it is, Jakiro has this facet that basically makes him hit harder. It scales with his ulti, which kind of sucks for support, but it's okay. But basically, at level 1, you get 6 more damage. And you hit twice, so it's 12 more damage. That's a lot of damage. I mean, a lot of damage. Imagine you gave most ranged heroes a 12 damage buff. Yeah, that's what it is. And so you lose Icebreaker, which is frankly one of the best facets in the game. Let's be real. Icebreaker is indeed very good, even after its nerfs. However, I mean, this is just strong. It's just 12 damage in the lane. And you might be like, okay, but it doesn't scale. But you can. The thing is, you can. Here's why. First of all, it scales with the ult, so it gets even better. On top of that, your E is an attack projectile, so you get to use a spell while you're hitting. So it makes sense to hit a little bit, at least a little bit. At level 10, you have an 150 attack range talent, right? Which helps. It's not that great. I mean, it is great. What I mean is that your attack range isn't the best as is, right? Jakiro has naturally low attack range for a ranged hero, and so it doesn't exactly make you a sniper, but it makes you able to hit from a decent range. And on top of that, you can buy Dragonlance. So what you want to do on this build is actually you can rush a Force Staff, right? You can rush Force Staff as your first defensive item, or you can do what Soxa does, which is rush drums. He likes to actually right-click a bit, which, you know, I find a bit weird. But to be fair, drums is generally a better early game item than Force Staff. It's just cheaper, better build up, you know. So I think that's a big reason for it. It's just you don't really want to rush Force Staff in a lot of games. Again, the build up's just not the best, and it's much more expensive than drums, like 500 more gold. So the drums make sense, and then after that. Right after you get the drums, just for the early tempo, he bought treads, and it makes sense. Like you can just kind of farm pretty quickly with Twin Terror, and you can scale very well. And then you buy your shard. Now, why is the shard so broken? Well, the E is a 4-second cooldown. The shard makes it where there's no split cooldown between Liquid Fire and Liquid Frost, and Liquid Frost amps the damage of Liquid Fire. Right, that is what Liquid Frost does. It amps the damage of your right clicks and your other abilities. And so if you're right clicking, being able to constantly use Liquid Frost and Liquid Fire is just insanely strong. It also lets you man up to people because at level 15, Liquid Fire is an 110 attack speed slow. At level 15, you literally almost remove a moon shard of attack speed in an AoE from heroes. So if you're against a lack of dispels from the enemy carry, or if they're greedy and don't buy a BKB, Jakiro at level 15 negates a lot of right clickers. I'm not kidding, go test it out, guys. It is that good. And so yeah, with your shard on a 4-second cooldown, you're pumping out a 400 damage nuke. 400 damage. It's actually more because you're auto attacking. Like, it is crazy how much damage this hero does. And you'll have to give it a shot. The skill build is 114. You do want to point an ice path, and then 404. You take the attack range at 10, buy your shard, then you buy a hurricane pike, and yeah, this hero just cooks. It does an insane amount of damage, and you can scale like a beast. But that's going to be all for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Love making these types of videos, just kind of giving you guys some fun ideas, things to try. Definitely recommend this Jakiro build. I think Vessel in general is something I've been looking into. The main conclusion I'm coming to with Vessel is that you should just buy it on heroes that have mobility. I tried it on Warlock, and I was like snowballing, so I'm like, oh, this is going to be perfect. But then in team fights, I'm just like dying trying to use the item. Maybe I was overextending, who knows? But an item like Vessel on a hero like Warlock, it's okay, but probably better to just stay in position and click your E. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and I'm out. Peace.